Thank you, Carson, for interviewing with me today.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Okay, so after you looked at my website, so I got adopted into Bhutan, and I've learned a lot about Bhutan, but I don't know everything, so I'll try to answer your questions about my website as best as I can. Do you have any questions for me?
I do have a couple. A couple are, I guess the first question here is about some of the responses you came up to the issues you found. I noticed a lot that you mentioned the use of bringing people from the U.S. over to Bhutan to help improve the quality of life there. And so my question, I'll read it off here, how yours says, do you think it would be more effective to bring specialists from the U.S., as you stated, or to help with farming and education, so something that you mentioned, or to bring people from surrounding countries such as India and China, which have experience in that kind of culture and in that kind of land, kind of geography, in order to help with some of those issues? They have this background, they have religious, similarities.
Yeah. Well, I felt kind of stupid at first because I was just thinking, it's like when I'm supposed to come up with solutions, I think, okay, what can I do, or what can our country do? So that's why I was thinking a lot about America. But then, as you bring that question up, I'm like, it'd probably be smarter to bring in people who are actually familiar with, the geology, or are in the same poverty ring. But then I was thinking also with America, we're more knowledgeable in how to solve these problems. So I was thinking that we would probably be more effective than countries out there.
Okay. And so what other countries, say Canada or England or Germany, some countries, other developed countries, be just as effective as the U.S. to have that same general standard of living and training?
It could be.
Okay. No, I think so. I think that your idea there makes sense. A lot of the time, I think China and India might have issues as well because they're not as developed and have a lot of poverty in their own countries.
Mm-hmm. Next.
So you mentioned in one of your slides, you're talking about one of your slides or one of your pages on the website, you're talking about unemployment and youth unemployment, and how unemployment in general in the country has decreased, but youth unemployment is still high. Has that, I don't know if you did this research or ever, has that gotten higher recently as the unemployment has gotten lower?
Yeah, when I was looking at the developmental goals for Bhutan, it's one of their most important issues that they're trying to solve, but it's definitely decreased a lot since they've more globalized and opened up their country to other countries' influences and with help in getting employment for their youth.
Okay, cool. And then my last question, you mentioned, Bhutan is trying to globalize, become more of the, out there with the market and stuff. I didn't really, maybe I just missed it, but what are Bhutan's exports and stuff? What do they offer the world? They're trying to put themselves out there more and become more involved in the world, but what do they bring to the world table, I guess?
I guess the first issue that comes up with Bhutan, they're a very landlocked kingdom and country. They're very secluded from the rest of the world, and they just recently, well, not recently, but they opened up their country to other countries in about 1974, so it's very new for them. They're learning how to develop and globalize, and so they're just trying to learn how to get the help that they need. But export-wise, they're very into agriculture and fishing and forests and stuff, so the main exports are wood or fruit and vegetables and animals and stuff.
Sweet.
And handicrafts. They're very cultured and very artistic, and so a lot of their own made goods and stuff.
Okay.
And stuff. I don't know, that's all the questions.
That's all, I had one comment. I noticed that their national sport is archery and darts. And I couldn't help but think maybe Robin Hood is Bhutanese.
Probably. Okay, okay, you also asked me earlier what MDG means.
Yeah,
and
I mentioned on your site a
those
couple times.
super important words.
Maybe it was on there somewhere, I just missed it, but...
I don't know if I specifically described it, because I don't know, being in this class, we all know what we're talking about, but then I didn't realize that I had to like actually teach people about all this, so now I gotta learn about it myself. But MDG stands for the Millennium Developmental Goals, and it was created by the United Nations there's 8 goals total, and they use them, they set goals for each country to reach by a certain year, and if they don't, then those are the areas that they need to improve on and focus on. So the 8 are, the first one is to eradicate extreme hunger and poverty, and then to increase secondary education, and then promote gender equality in women, reduce child mortality, and then improve maternal health. And then number 6 is like combating disease and AIDS and HIV and stuff. And number 7 is to like ensure their environment and make it a safe place and more environmental friendly. And then the last goal is global partnership and globalization. So as far as my country goes, they're very well on their way to achieving their goals. There's like still a lot they can improve on. So as far as poverty is, I can just read off some stuff from my website because I don't have it off the top of my head.
Yep.
But so as far as extreme hunger and poverty, since 2012, they were able to reduce that rate from 36% to 12% of just poverty and hunger. And I find this one of the most important goals because they're so reliant on their agriculture, and as they can improve their agriculture and their crops and how they obtain food, then that can really reduce their poverty and like their hunger.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as education, they're really focusing on education for women to increase women equality. And I forget what the literacy rate is, but they have been able to increase their school enrollment from 55% to 118%. Whatever that means.
How is that possible?
And 118.
I'm bored being taking classes, is that it?
Yeah. So that's for education. Okay. And then gender equality and empowering women. Like I said, they're just focused on getting women educated because a lot of women don't have those opportunities. And they also have this National Plan of Happiness. I have yet to research that, but I think it's pretty cool. Not a lot of countries have that. They just really focus on like meeting these goals, and so they can be eternally happy. Because Bhutan is very religious, and they're very into like Zen and stuff. And
Buddhism.
yes, yeah, Buddhism. They are Buddhists. They speak Bhutanese. And then infant mortality. Their target for 2015 is to reduce mortality rates by 2/3, and they've already reduced it by half. So they're well on their way. They will reach that goal. It's just cool to see. So there's 3 levels of globalization, and so three. I think 3 is the lowest. So that's why like they're very impoverished, and then like 2 they're rising up, and then 1 is they're very globalized and can reach out to other countries. So I would say they're on a level 2. They're improving a lot, but there's just still a lot they can do.
This is almost like saying third world, developing world,
third world,
first world, whatever.
Yeah. And then maternal health. So the problems with maternal health in Bhutan is a lot with pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
So they're just really trying to improve, I guess, just like women care when they're pregnant and having children, because a lot of the death rates in women is because of pregnancy issues and hemorrhaging and just bleeding a lot, and so they die from a lot of bleeding.
It's so fun.
And it's really hard to find solutions because I'm not very knowledgeable on all this stuff, so I kind of just think common sense, get better doctors, better help.
Yeah, so one thing you mentioned is a lot of the poverty in the nation is in the rural areas, and I'm sure a lot of that infant mortality and stuff, and that childbirth mortality from childbirth and stuff is taking place in those rural areas. So do you recommend building more roads that have access to the cities, or do you recommend building more available clinics or something in those smaller towns?
Yeah, with my solution, I think it was for maternal health, because again, they live in the mountains and they live on cliffs and stuff, and so it's very hard for them to get to hospitals. So I was thinking you can either build closer roads that go through the mountains or to build closer clinics. Then again, they don't have a lot of room to expand. So just overall, I'd be like, hey, Bhutan, you should just move your whole city down the mountain. Idiots.
I don't think that's necessarily their issue. Yeah.
Okay, and then goal number 6 for HIV and AIDS. Their main issue is malaria, but they've pretty much solved that problem. But then there comes a problem of AIDS and HIV because a lot of them are having unprotected and sex out of marriage. Just trying to promote abstinence and just educate them on the the effects of having stupid sex. Okay, and then their goal that they're doing most well in is environmental sustainability, because they're very focused on like having their land very clean because they're way into agriculture. So if they have a bunch of pollution and whatnot, it's going to really affect their food, and then go back into poverty and starvation. And then global partnership, like I believe, is one of their most important issues, since they're just opening up their country and letting those, like India and Japan are their main exports, and Bangladesh. And so as they open up their country, they can accept more help and ideas. They've expanded a lot. They've now gone electric with electric cars and telephones and cell phones and internet cafes and whatnot. But then again, their main issue is youth unemployment. I think that's just a problem everywhere, because you need that experience to get a job. So if you're young and you don't have those experiences, then how can you get a job? So you got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And the last few questions. Okay, we're going to critique some of these goals. How many goals do you think there should be? Because obviously when you have more goals, it's a lot harder to focus and to solve problems.
Yeah.
So I think if I were to get rid of a goal, I would get rid of environmental sustainability. Even though it's very important, I think that they're well on their way and they know the importance of that goal, so they don't really need to improve.
Yeah.
What do you think?
About that idea, or about a goal that you
A goal that you would...
Are they even a website pulled up here?
Yeah. These 8 goals right here. Because they're all really important, so it's hard to just be like, oh, that one's not important anymore, get rid of that.
I feel like I mentioned that one, that could be very controversial.
Gender equality.
Yeah, I guess considering the weight of all the other ones, I don't want to say oh yeah, maternal health is no longer an issue, or AIDS is no longer an issue. I think that would be the easiest one to say, that if you're gonna not focus on one of them, that's probably the least important one, because all the other ones refer more to the health of your nation's residents than to the health of the environment, which is good.
Yeah. All right, I just want to finish off with Bhutan's future. I think the one they can most improve in is global partnership, because as they're globalizing more, they've been opening up their country more, and with that they can, I feel like I've said this a million times, I don't know, just as they globalize more and are more partnered with other countries, they can learn how to solve a lot of their problems and become a better country.